Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hello, neighbor. How did the Silk Road actually work? Let's find out. My name's Connor. If you're new, I like to watch stuff and hang out and talk. Yeah. All right. All the things. I'm from Rhode Island, New England, USA, in that order. Hit all the buttons. Original link to the video. Top of the description. Right below that, link to the Discord. Click on it. Send it right over there. Don't worry if you don't get assigned a role. I will give it to you. I will promote you. Knowledge you. Great. Go.
All the way back in the 2nd century BC, the Han dynasty served as the second Chinese imperial dynasty to date and had ambitions to accomplish more than just that. Initially hoping simply to resolve the recurrent issue of conflict with the Xiongnu tribes along the north and west borders, the Han Emperor, Emperor Wu, decided in 138 BC to send an envoy off to try and form some type of alliance or garner support from the Yuzhai in the west. As he traveled through Central Asia, the emissary, Zhang Jie, witnessed for the first time a variety of new people and cultures and was particularly fascinated by the Daiyun people. To be
So he's like the Chinese Marco Polo?
specific, Jie was drawn to the horses of the Daiyun. Although the Han dynasty had long been using horses in warfare, and even as far back as during the 11th century BC, the Shang dynasty cavalry and chariots were popular, the horses of Daiyun appeared to Jie to be far superior to those that were bred in China. Admiring their size, strength, and speed, Jie returned to Emperor Wu and informed him of these magnificent beasts. As a result, Wu decided to purchase some of these Western horses, and in a short matter of time, with the help of their new horsepower, the Han dynasty was able to address the Xiongnu threat. Impressed by the success of Jie's journey west and the collaboration it inspired, Emperor Wu decided to take things a step further, triggering the official opening of the Silk Road
Go back out and
in
find more.
130 BC. Connecting the east to the west through a network of trade routes spanning roughly 4,000 miles from end to end, reaching from the Han in China to the tips of Europe. This was not the first such road, or more accurately,
Seleucid, Roman Republic, Pergamon, Ptolemaic, Egypt, Greco, Bactrian, Indo-Greek.
roads to create an international trade route, though. In fact, it was the Persians under Darius I and the Persian Empire who had created the original. This was known as the Royal Road, and it stretched from Susa, which lies in modern-day Iran, all the way nearly 2,000 miles to the west in Sardis, which is today a part of Turkey.
Alexander
the
the
Persians
Great
would
time?
also add smaller routes to the main one, which reached parts of the Indian subcontinent and northern Africa as well. And this network came to be roughly 300 years prior to the opening of the Silk Road. Although later outdone by the Silk Road, the Persian Royal Road was quite impressive in itself, and the writings about its messengers, provided to us by Herodotus, would later form the basis of the United States Postal Service creed. Nonetheless, the Silk Road would
Really?
soon be the ultimate route or routes for messengers, merchants, and explorers alike. The roads were used in a few manners, with the main being for commercial trade. Despite the fact that the term we know it by now was not actually coined until the late 19th century, the Silk Road did, in fact, serve as a major contributor of the trade of silks throughout the region it spanned over.
Okay, so there were a few established roads, and it wasn't as if a Silk Road was built in one big project. It sort of connected different ones.
For a long while, silk only came out of China due to the fact that it was the
Silkworms.
Chinese who had discovered how to harvest the material from the cocoons of silkworms.
I love how
and
that
had
was a secret
strategically
for so
hidden
long.
this discovery from the rest of the world.
So smart.
Thanks to the creation of the Silk Road network, though, the material and products produced from it could now be sold all throughout the path to Europe. And it was the far west Romans in particular.
Imagine just for so long, everyone being like, all right, we want silk so bad, it only comes from here. How do they make it? And just thinking like, where does this come from? how do they make this material?
Particular who really fell in love with this Chinese commodity. This near obsession with silk that the Romans developed would actually also prove to be a prime example of how the Silk Road not only spread goods from west to east and east to west, but brought culture and new ideas to each state that it touched. In the case of Rome and silk, the remarkable demand for the product within the empire eventually put Rome in a position of an unfavorable balance of trade, which deeply bothered the emperors. While nothing would ever be done to rectify this before the 476 fall of the Western Roman...
See, like, the thing with China is that, like, they have such a great land and so much resources and rich culture, history, and civilizations. There's nothing like, stuff over here that I want. Maybe some military supplies and stuff that they end up wanting because they would show up on their shores. But there was not that giant incentive to go seek out Western goods as it was vice versa.
Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantines, would take on the burden, and it would be their emperor who now put an end to it. After discovering the source of this infatuating material, Emperor Justinian sent 2 men undercover as monks into China to steal enough silkworms to start a new production stream of silk back in Byzantium. The expedition worked, and now the Eastern Roman Empire could save itself from the same high-priced silk-induced trade imbalance of their Western counterpart. Silk was still not the only popular export along the Silk Road, though. Additionally, from east to west...
Why not just stop liking silk so much? Isn't the only use for it kind of a status fashionable? It's not like there's this like mandatory need.
Products such as teas,
there is, and I don't know
dyes,
about it.
Spices, porcelain, paper, gunpowder, and medicine were all frequently traded. Paper and gunpowder would go on to make significant impacts in the contemporary European world, with gunpowder changing warfare as they knew it, and paper soon becoming the primary canvas for writing.
It's just like, yeah, we got all this stuff, and
as the Eastern trade changed the Western culture and world, the West did the same for the East. Western merchants would sell goods like glassware, textiles, animal furs, certain foods such as fruits or honey, live animals, rugs and blankets, armor, and horse-riding necessities.
Yeah, you could get a pack animal to carry the goods and then sell the animal as well when you get over there.
Alone, we see the inspiration for new thinking and new ways of life being passed along the network of trade routes. And this does not even include the spread of religions or ideologies that would occur thanks to the merchants and travelers themselves. And yet, all of this was done while most merchants, messengers, and the like never went across the whole Silk Road network. In reality, the vast majority of the traders especially would only go part way, sell or trade their goods to another merchant, and
so there were middlemen and then bumps up of prices.
Then that man would go on and do the same. This created a large system of middlemen and also allowed for the opening of new businesses, inns, and resting places.
And more middlemen means a higher price. Because everyone wants to make money.
Would soon begin popping up along the routes, and on the less legal side, robbers became frequently employed. There was one man who would travel from one end to the other, though, and he would make the road famous through his writing about the journey. It was Marco Polo, who spent 3 years alongside his father, aged only 17, traversing the Silk Road until they finally reached the Chinese palace of Kublai Khan in 1275 AD.
And Kublai Khan, I think, likes Marco Polo, and Marco Polo ends up spending like 11 years in China.
The Polos would stay in Asia for years more, where the young man traveled to places he'd never seen and met people and cultures he'd never imagined. When Marco Polo...
I only know that because I was just a few days ago looking up... I was interested in who Marco Polo was, and I was just looking up him on Wikipedia, and so I just so happened to have just heard this stuff.
And met people and cultures he'd never imagined. When Marco Polo yet again traveled along the Silk Road, this time to return home to Venice in 1295, he brought back with him all of the knowledge and experience that he had gained from his time in Asia and shared it all with the European...
He must have been a very respectable charismatic guy in order to not make any serious enemies along the whole way that would get him killed.
World in his book, The Travels of Marco Polo. Language, culture, religion, discovery, and so on and so forth were all shared along the Silk Road, making the ancient trade network an invaluable part of history and our world today. Even disease spread along the routes, and many historians point to the Silk Road in particular as being the possible culprit for the spread of the devastating Black Death in the 14th century. Yet, the Silk Road only lasted for another 100 years. This is because after the Ottoman Empire conquered Byzantium...
It must have been two ways. Like, why are the diseases just seemingly coming from east to west? Or do they have higher immune system?
The Ottomans all but entirely cut off any trade with the West and shut down
that
the
incentivizes
Silk Road. Looking for ways around this, many Europeans began to explore the sea instead, hoping for a means around the blockage on land. This birthed the Age of Discovery, lending soon to the eventual European expeditions to the New World that would shape so many countries as we know them today. In many ways, it was the Silk Road itself that can be credited for these monumental moments in history, as it was the possibilities provided by the incredible trade network that would give Europeans a craving for further exploration and global trade, which would send them to the seas in response to the Ottoman intervention. Thus, the Silk Road worked in a plethora of ways. It served, obviously, as a hub for international trade and commerce. Additionally, these routes would open up new journeys for explorers, allow for easier passage of messengers from east to west, and through all of this helped to share and exchange cultures, languages, religions, ideas, development, and sadly, even disease.
Really cool video. Oops. Awesome video. Nalegia, great channel. Yeah, a few of the stuff I had known, but it really does a good job connecting to the Age of Exploration and how the small isthmus or narrow passage from Turkey into southeastern Europe would trigger that the Age of Exploration. Awesome. Keep your head up. Hope you guys are doing well. If not, that sucks. You'll be good soon. See you next time.